Hey everyone, my name is Ryan and I am a man with lupus. Lupus is an incurable, invisible disease where you can't really look at a person and tell that they're suffering with that condition. You wouldn't even necessarily think that the person who's suffering with lupus is sick just by looking at them. Lupus may not affect one's physical appearance, but I'll guarantee you that it absolutely affects the way their body functions and certainly the way they feel. Lupus is a very difficult thing to live with on a daily basis. It is riddled with pain, flu-like symptoms, nausea, throwing up, fevers, all kinds of ailments that make it really hard. And because of that, we get a lot of people around us who want to be supportive. They want to encourage us and help us out, and so they say things to us, and those things are often hurtful. They didn't intend them to be hurtful. However, for somebody suffering with a chronic condition, it's very hard to hear some of the things that people say. It's not their fault. It's not our fault. We just need to learn how to communicate a little better. And that's why in today's video, I wanted to address 10 things that you should never say to a lupus patient or anyone living with a chronic medical condition unless you really do want to make them feel disrespected, hurt, unheard, discouraged, or any of those things. So I know you guys are trying to encourage us, and I love it, and I want to promote that, but let's talk a little bit about how some of the things that are said to lupus patients and chronic people living with chronic conditions and how that actually makes us feel. So let's go ahead and get right into the video. Today's video, I really wanted to talk about 10 things that you shouldn't say to people living with chronic medical conditions. Of course, there's a lot more than 10. There's, other ones and different variations, but I came up with a list here from an article I read not too long ago, and so I just wanted to cover those here with you today. The very first one, quote, "But you look so good," unquote. This is the number one phrase to avoid for a lupus patient or a chronically ill patient. Reason being, especially for a lupus patient, like I said in the intro, lupus is invisible. It's invisible and incurable. And when you come up to and we're saying, I don't feel very well, and somebody says, well, you look good, how is that supposed to be helpful? How is that supposed to do anything other than discredit what I just brought to you? I just told you I'm not okay, and you're telling me, yeah, you should be, look at you. That's how that's interpreted. That's how that's internalized when I hear it, and so that is a big, big no-no. Unless, of course, you want to hurt their feelings, then go ahead. Tell them they look great and you don't believe them, because that's what it feels like when you say that. The second thing never to say to somebody who's chronically ill is, quote, "But you're too young to have lupus," unquote. Now, of course, you could fill that in with any other condition, but lupus is not a condition that is specific to old people. It is not a condition that's specific to young people. It's also not specific to black, brown, or white. Yes, I am in the least likely demographic to have lupus as a white male. Black females are the most likely to have lupus, but you could be diagnosed when you were 14. Most young females, from what I've read, seem to be diagnosed kind of in their teenage, late teen, early 20s years, while people who are like me, the least likely, we go through the most suffering trying to get a diagnosis because nobody's even thinking lupus about us, and I didn't get diagnosed until 39. So, yeah, I'm 39 years old and I'm suffering with lupus, but for you to say that I am too young to have the condition that I have is like a slap in the face. It feels like you are discrediting me and you're telling me that I'm wrong. So I have all of these life struggles that I'm going through just to prove to my doctors that something is going on with me. For me, this was a 20-year process. And then to have somebody say, but you're too young to have that, or you're young, you shouldn't be having these problems. It's extremely hurtful and discrediting. And to be honest, it makes me feel like I'm lying. It makes me feel like you don't trust me, like you don't believe what I'm saying. It makes me feel completely discredited. And it's a very, very uncomfortable feeling. The third thing that you should never say to somebody who's chronically ill is, quote, I'm sure things will get better, unquote. This is one of the most frustrating things that I hear. Again, I just told you guys, it's taken 20 years for me to get a diagnosis. I don't feel a doctor has ever actually helped me. Sure, when I've had a sinus infection, they've given me antibiotics. Sure, they've given me some pain medication to help with my pain. Sure, they've given me some nerve medication to help with my neurological symptoms. But they have never actually helped me. So for you to say, I'm sure things will get better, is it's irresponsible in a way. It is, again, discrediting in a big way. Like, oh, so my doctors don't know what they're doing. I don't know what I'm talking about. I live this life every day, day in, day out. I research, read papers. I do all this stuff constantly, and yet, I'm sure you'll be all right. It's very minimizing. It's very disrespectful, and it's very hurtful. It makes me stop, shut down, and I don't even know what else to say to you at that point. I'm sick. You seem to not believe that I'm sick and that it'll just pass. And so how do I continue to interact with you knowing that tomorrow is going to be just like today, and 2 weeks from now is going to be just like today, and a year from now is going to be just like today, when you think that, you'll be better in a couple of days. It's just a very difficult thing to hear. And for me, the word that comes to mind is minimizing. And so the next thing that I think you should never really say to a patient who is suffering with a chronic condition is, quote, do you need to be taking all of those meds, unquote? If we're talking lupus specific, the world of autoimmune diseases is very, very confusing. And most people don't really, even doctors, they don't really know what they're doing. And so there is a piece of that that's probably somewhat true. Like, they don't really have a good grasp on what medications to give us and how to truly help us. But the fact that I'm dying, yes, I need my medications, that should be enough. And so when people discredit our medication, for me, that blocks me off from coming to you with anything again, because I know you're going to be judgmental on, whatever it is that I bring to you for a treatment. And so that's a very, very difficult one for me. The next one that you should never say to somebody who's suffering with a chronic illness is number 5, quote, have you tried this diet, unquote? The answer is likely yes, or that I have tried a very similar diet, and I've tried 100 other diets, and 100 other medications, and 1,000 supplements, and 50 forms of exercise, and hanging, and stretching, and yoga, and everything that I can think of, because once again, I'm dying. I am uncontrollably filled with anxiety, pain, nausea, everything, fevers, just head to toe riddled. Yes, I've tried that diet or something very similar. Now, of course, there are exceptions to this rule because there are new studies and new diets and new fads, and it's one thing to be on a very intimate level with somebody who's suffering with a condition, and you can kind of send articles their way and things like that. But just in general, when somebody walks up to you and they tell you that they're suffering with a chronic condition, and for you to be like, oh, have you heard about gluten? It is so simplistic. I get a visceral reaction. I get angry when I hear that. I get mad because no, I've been dealing with this for 20 years and I've been laughing and smiling and playing video games and doing jumping jacks. Of course, I've tried everything. I want to be better. I want to get better. And so I really, really think throwing out simplistic ideas about complex things that you have no clue what you're talking about is a bad idea. It is going to lead to somebody feeling very hurt, unheard, and disrespected. It's going to be the opposite of what you wanted to present. Now, the 6th thing that you should never say to a chronically ill person is, have you tried meditation, quote unquote? There's a million forms of meditation. There's a ton of different ways and strategies to meditate. Meditation has been shown to improve things. Meditation has shown to help with stress levels, anxiety, which are all parts of lupus, okay? Meditation is one of those words that get thrown around in society these days where, oh yeah, did you meditate? were you enlightened today? Did you have your conversation with God today? As if it's just this, oh geez, I forgot to turn on the meditation thing. It's not that easy, and it certainly will not cure your lupus, okay? My body does not recognize the other cells in my body. And so those cells are attacking these cells. And me getting calm is not going to cure that. It may help a little. It may lighten symptoms. I appreciate the suggestion. But the reality is, I'm dying again, remember? My body is killing itself. It's literally eating itself. And your suggestion is, did you meditate? No, I never tried that either, you know? I've never even thought about it. Of course, meditation is a part of this whole journey and this whole treatment plan and part of what a lot of us do. But it will not fix lupus, and suggesting things that you do not have an idea about, again, is a very bad way to enter something so serious. Now, the seventh thing you should never say to somebody with a chronic condition, quote, you need to get more exercise, unquote. Oh, you need to stretch more. Oh, you need to exercise more. Oh, you need to do yoga. Oh, you need to be physical. No shit. I know. But when I wake up and I can't stand on my feet because they are on fire, when I can't even pick up my cell phone and type on the cell phone because my fingers won't close, I can't go work out. I work out every single day of the week that I can possibly get together. Every single day of the week that I feel even in the realm of, okay, I go push myself physically, okay? Most of the time I have to leave early, I have to sit out, I can't finish my workouts, I throw up, I get fevers, all of this stuff, but I am pushing myself to the max, and most of us are. Most of us we're not sitting in this pity party, just hoping everybody feels bad for us, yada yada. That's stupid. That doesn't even make sense, because 90% of the time we're sitting in our houses by ourselves suffering. Of course we know we need exercise. This condition hurts. This is the most pain I have ever felt in my entire life. Yes, there's some days better than others, but I am telling you, this is a physically excruciating disease. And to tell somebody that they need to exercise more or they need to push their body harder is very, very disrespectful, because you simply do not understand what it's like. Yes, we need to exercise. Yes, that is important and good for us. But we know it. We're told it constantly. Our doctors tell us, the articles tell us, the groups tell us, everybody tells us. We know. What would be helpful? Maybe you invite us to some event where there's some exercise going on, and then be patient if we can't show up because we're too sick that day. But that is a very difficult thing for me when people talk to me about exercise, because they don't understand that just in a 2-hour time span, I could go from completely able to exercise to not even being able to really stand up, okay? That can happen that fast. I want to snap my fingers, but they hurt. And so be very careful when you're judging people. That is a very judgmental thing, or at least it feels that way when you're on this side of things and hearing it. Now, the next thing you should never say to a chronically ill person is, quote, I know how you feel. I'm tired all the time too, unquote. This was something that was said to me recently, and it was about the most offended I have ever felt since I've been diagnosed with this condition. This is not comparable to normal fatigue. This is not comparable to normal aches and pains. Lupus is not comparable to what 90% of people go through. Probably more than 90, probably 95% of people, okay? It is not the same thing. And when you say, I know how you feel, I'm tired all the time, you know what you just said to me? That my condition is not real. That my condition is not a big deal at all. That my condition is exactly the same as what you go through. And I'm less than you because guess what? You're tired all the time and you get up and do it, right? This was just said to me by somebody very close to me, and it really hurt. it really hurt. It put a wedge between me and them. I wanted to be angry with them, but I know that they just don't know any better. But at the same time, how dare you? How dare you throw that in my face? I'm here suffering day in and day out, struggling day in and day out. I can't get a doctor or anybody to really help me, to get me fixed, to get me better. And then you tell me that you know exactly how this feels? No, you don't. The ninth thing that you should never say to somebody who's suffering from a chronic illness is, quote, I wish I could stay home all day, end quote. Once again, no, you don't. You have no idea what you're talking about. Yes, the first month, couple of months may seem a little like, this is kind of nice. I don't have to set an alarm to get up in the morning. I don't have to freak out about going to bed at night. I don't have to rush in the morning. I don't have to go out into the cold. Like, yes, there's a few really nice things about that. But I'm telling you, you sit in a house all by yourself every day, day in, day out, pretty much from the moment you wake up until dinner time. There's nobody here to talk to. Every text you send doesn't get answered quickly because people are busy working. You can't call people and ask questions. You can't do anything. There's nobody here to talk to. You hear the echo bouncing off the walls. It gets absolutely like lose your mind torturesome, okay? Do that for 2 years. Go sit in a room by yourself every day for 2 years with nobody else there. You will change your tone on that. Yes, I get it. The idea of staying home and not having to go out into the workforce, it seems appealing. But when you're stuck home, it's not okay. It's not a good thing, and it's not healthy. It becomes very dark, very gloomy. It feels very depressive. I feel alone. Often I get scared. I start almost getting paranoid. I'm here just by myself all day, and I'm wondering if people maybe were upset with me, or I have so much time where I'm just kind of sitting idle, where I start to obsess and think about, oh, geez, I said something to them last week. I wonder if they're mad. I mean, you just go into this whole world of loneliness that you can't even begin to understand. And it's kind of funny because it makes me think of something that a good friend of mine told me, and he's a judo practitioner. And part of judo is, you know, you're trying to get a hold of the person and then throw them onto the ground. Well, sometimes you grab somebody and you think, ha, I got you, right? I'm going to throw you on the ground. Until that guy wraps your arm up and says, oh, now you're not letting go. That's how this feels. I am stuck. I am stuck here alone, and it is excruciating. And so be very careful when you're talking to people who have chronic illnesses about this topic. When you say, I wish I could stay home all day, must be nice. You have no idea what you're talking about, and it's a very, it could be taken offensively very easily, I guess. And so this will bring me to the last one, of course, before we finish our video. And so the 10th thing that you should never say to a chronically ill person is, quote, but we made plans weeks ago. You can't just cancel now, end quote. And I'm sure this is common for many chronic illnesses, but for lupus especially, this is one of the most aggravating, challenging, difficult parts about the disease. It's that I don't know how I'm going to feel 6 hours from now. I have plans tonight to try to go to the gym to exercise. Between right now, 1:45 in the afternoon, and 5 o'clock when I leave, I could go from this. I'm actually feeling relatively okay today. I have a lot of hand pain and a lot of foot pain, joint pain stuff going today, but relatively I'm like, okay, this is an okay day for me. Between now and 3 hours from now, I could go from this to throwing up, flu, in bed, fever, all of that, okay? It's so quickly changes, and there's no rhyme or reason to it, and so it's very difficult for us to figure out a way where we can ensure that we can be somewhere at a set time. This is one of the biggest conditions for many of us maintaining jobs. I'm going through the disability process right now, and this is my biggest issue. It's not that I can't ever work. It's that I can't ever tell you when I'll be available to work. When I'm feeling roughly okay, are there some things I could do? I'm sure. But I don't know if I'm going to be sick for 2 weeks or 4 hours or a half hour or tomorrow if I won't even be able to get out of bed. I have no idea what the rest of my life looks like, and you have no idea what that feels like, how uncomfortable that is. And as much as you might be disappointed that your Lupus Warrior had to cancel on you and how disappointing that is, do you have any idea how hard it is for somebody like me to once again have to break a plan with somebody? Break a promise that I made, like, yes, we'll go, I'll go to that with you, and then to have to cancel it, and to have to do that over and over and over constantly, and see the disappointment on people's faces, and see the hurt on people's faces, and the frustration on their faces, then you know that that's because of you and what you're going through and your actions, and yet you can't help it. It's a very, very, very difficult position to be in. And so as much as, you may say or think or feel like, God, don't cancel now, we made these plans 6 months ago. A chronically ill person has no say in that, and you really should give them some slack, because I'll guarantee you 99% of the time they would do anything to keep those plans and to go with you and to get out of this lonely house by themselves and to go do something. They are dying to go do that with you. It's just that they can't. And so please, please keep that in mind and be gentle. And so guys, those are 10 things that I think you should be very cautious of when you're talking to someone with a chronic illness. Like I said at the beginning of the video, most people who are saying those things and offending me or hurting my feelings are people that love me. They're people that want to support me. They're not intending to hurt my feelings or make me feel bad. They're actually trying to do the opposite. They're trying to make me feel better. They're trying to get me out here because we can have fun. They're trying to get me to exercise because you're going to feel better if you exercise. They want me to meditate because I hope you can feel better. I wish it were that simple, guys. I really, really do. But if you want to support somebody who's suffering with a chronic illness, these are some of the things to watch out for, and be very candid with those people. Be very open with them and say, I'm trying to support you and I don't know how. They can help you. They can help walk you through what they need, And sometimes they can't. I have trouble with that as well. But for the most part, I think it's just important that we take all of the opportunities that we can to support and love one another. And if there's something like this where it's just a communication issue, let's fix it. Because I'll tell you what, lupus patients especially, and anybody living with a chronic medical condition, they need all the love and support they can get. We need love, unconditional love, support. We want to know that people love us, that people want us around. We want to know those things. We just don't want to feel like we're letting the world down because we feel let down every day, day after day. So guys, that's all I have for today's video. Once again, my name is Ryan and I am a man with lupus, and I'll see you in the next one.